Okay, so let's go to the BP spawner actor. I would like to take a moment to fix something. If you go to the viewport, you notice that the box is no longer there. And that is because on the construction script, we are setting the size of the box according to this variable, to this vector. However, by default, this vector is 0, 0, 0. And because we made this variable public on the level itself, if you remember, we selected this actor and we changed the default value of the box size to 2000 by 2000 by 100. But on the actor, we are using 0, 0, 0. So if we want to leave this as default, we can use 32 by 32 by 32. Okay, great. So now let's go to the events graph. And after this spawn actor function, we are going to use a timer. Now a timer, we can call a timer using the set timer by event. We need to count in seconds if we want to repeat some action forever. So we are going to connect this to the timer, and from this event pin, we are going to drag and type custom event. Notice that this custom event is connected to the timer, and now we can set the time for this event to trigger. Let's set the timer to 0.5, so it's going to be called twice a second. Check the looping box, and on the custom event, let's use the same code. Let's copy this, paste here, copy paste here, connect this to the spawn function, and now we want to spawn the spike on the class. Change this to BP underscore spike. So what we are going to see now is that after when we complete this loop, okay, so now there is one more thing that I want to correct. Notice that I'm connecting this spawn function to the timer, but this is actually a mistake. And actually, we are going to remove this connection by holding Alt and clicking on the timer. The reason why I have to do this is because the loop is here, and the loop has a different execution called completed. So actually, what I really want to do is to click and connect the completed pin to the timer that we are going to use to spawn these spikes. And this is because we are going to separate the spawning of the spheres from the timer that is going to spawn these spikes. Now let's compile, save, and try this. Great, so notice that if we're moving around, we will see spikes raining on us, and we can still take these spheres. So far, the rain is not very dangerous, so if we want to increase the number of spikes, we can change the time of the timer to 0.1 to see the result of this. Go to the map, and yeah, this is looking better now. We can increase this even more by using 0.05, and this is going to be a really heavy rain. Well, it's looking better, definitely. We have to be careful avoiding those spikes. At this moment, the spikes are not really doing anything. However, at some point, these spikes are going to call a function on the player. Now, let's continue with the other advanced functions that we're going to use for this project. Because we only want to pick 5 spheres, we have to do a check on the player character. Here we only have this function, the C underscore attach that's going to take an actor and is going to attach this to the head of the player. However, we are going to put a limit to the amount of spheres, and we are doing this by creating a new variable. Name it sphere array. Change the class of this variable to BP underscore sphere. Here on the type, select object reference. And finally, on the details panel, on the variable type, change this from single to array. The difference here is that now this variable is not representing one actor, it's going to represent many actors, and we can put a limit to the amount of actors that we're going to have inside this variable. Drag this on the viewport and select get. Notice that the pin looks different. The first thing I want to explain is that the array has a length. This is how many actors we have inside this variable. We can check if we have less than 5. With this, we are sure that the max limit of actors inside this variable is going to be 5. Hold B and press click, or just look for branch. And with the branch, we are going to check if this condition is met. Connect the red pin, which is the boolean, to the branch, to the condition. And now connect the event to the input, and finally the true execution to the attach to component. Now this is going to check if this array has less than 5 actors added into it. All we have to do is to update this variable array, and to do it, we are going to drag this pin, search for add, and now we are going to add this particular actor to this array. Now, if we try to connect this pin to the add pin, notice that it's not going to allow us to do it. And that is because this event, when we created this event, the input was set to actor. And we are no longer using use a generic actor. We are using the BP sphere actor. So change this to BP underscore sphere. Select the object reference. And now we can connect this to the add function. Remember, you have to connect the true pin to the add first, and now we can connect this to the attach to component. The other thing that we're going to do is to attach the spheres to different sockets, not only the head. For this, we are going to click on the socket name input, drag and type select. At the very end, we have this select node. What we can do here is to specify different sockets based on an index. And the good thing is that this add function is creating an index for us every time we add an actor. So connect this pin to the index section. We have to add 3 more pins, and on each option we are going to type a different bone. On the first one is going to be head, then we're going to use hand underscore L for left hand, then hand underscore R, then foot underscore L, and finally foot underscore R. Now these bones are the default bones that we have on our character mesh. We can check that if we go to the mesh component, here on the skeletal mesh, click on this folder, and we can open this component here, this actor, And here in this skeletal mesh, we can see the name of the bones to this side. We can search for hand, select one hand, and notice that this is the location of the bone, or you can select the other hand. So this is all we have to know for these sockets. Now, if we want to try this, we have to compile, save, and now try to pick some of the spheres. Notice that we already have the spheres in our hands. This one is in our foot, and the last sphere is right there. Right. So we look like a big marshmallow, but right now we already have a very important part of the logic ready. We are going to add other limits to this array, but so far we are able to attach 5 spheres to 5 different sockets. We just need one more function inside our player character. Here we are going to create another custom event, and we are now going to name it C_got_hit. And we are going to use this event when the spike hits the player. What we're going to do is, again, drag the array, get the array, and we are going to get a copy. This is going to represent an actor inside the array. And the actor that we are going to select is going to be the last actor that we just picked. So again, from this pin, search for last index. Connect this to the input. We have the last actor, and we want this actor to call the C_detach function. Remember that this function is located inside the BP sphere, and because this array is using the BP sphere actor as the class, we can call the functions inside these spheres. So we're going to do one more thing before calling this. On this same pin, we are going to search if this is valid. At the very end, we have the is valid with the question mark. And the reason why we're doing this is because sometimes the spikes can hit the player twice, or we can get hit by multiple spikes at the same time. And this is going to get errors. So to avoid those errors, we are going to first check if this actor is valid. And then if this is valid, we're going to detach the sphere from the player. But for this to work, we have to open the spike actor. And if you remember on the event graph, we already have the begin overlap event. But this begin overlap event is not doing anything besides waiting for 1 second and destroying the spike. On the other execution pin, on this one at the bottom, we are going to call the C_got_hit. This is the function that we just created. We are also going to connect this with the delay and the destroy actor at the end, because if we hit the player, we also want to destroy the spike as well. In any case, we need to improve this actor because I noticed that the capsule collision is too small. So click on the capsule component, and we are going to change the scale to something like 2 and 2. I think this is enough. Check on the viewport. Yeah, looks way better. Now let's try this. Pick some sphere and let's see if we can get, okay. So we just got hit by one of the spikes. Great. So notice that we already have the spheres in our body attached to our body. However, the head is empty. So this means we have to fix something. But at least now we know that the spikes can hit the player and we can drop the spheres every time we get hit. If we go back to the player blueprint and we check the last event that we created, we notice that we are just detaching the sphere, but we are not removing this actor from the array. So what we have to do now is to drag from this pin and search for remove index, which is this one. And what index are we going to remove is going to be this last index. So connect this to this function. With this, every time we detach the sphere from the player, we are also going to remove that actor from the array. So we are almost there. We are about to close this loop because we can already pick 5 spheres and we can also avoid these spikes. However, the last thing we have to do is to activate the exit door when we complete the quest.